Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, whatever you are. Welcome to this week's podcast. Today's podcast is an in-depth analysis of the Mandela Effect and CERN. This one originally comes from Nick Hinton from the subreddit r/conspiracy. Let's get into this. In my opinion, this is one of the most fascinating of conspiracy theories. I've talked about this subject many times before, but since then I have discovered much more information. So if you've heard some of this before, please bear with me, because by the end you will be mind blown. I honestly think this thread includes some of the most compelling evidence for the Mandela Effect being a real phenomenon. But first, let's start with the basics. CERN, or the European Organization for Nuclear Research, is a massive laboratory in Switzerland. The facility is famous for being home to the world's largest particle collider and discovering the legendary Higgs boson, or God particle, in the summer of 2012. A particle collider is a machine that uses extremely powerful magnetic fields to shoot beams of subatomic particles at each other. These beams travel at nearly the speed of light, and when they collide, scientists are able to see what the universe looked like right after the Big Bang. However, some say people at CERN are really trying to create a portal to the underworld. This sounds ridiculous, but even the official CERN website says they are looking for dark matter and other dimensions. Sounds a lot like the plot to Stranger Things. The symbolism used by CERN only fuels the speculation of conspiracy theorists. For example, many point out the giant statue of Shiva the Destroyer standing outside. There's even a video floating around the internet that shows men in black robes doing a ritual sacrifice in front of it. And notice the hidden 666 in the CERN logo? As for that video, well, Snopes says the video is a hoax and that some of the researchers at the facility were just having fun. I don't trust Snopes, but that's definitely a possibility. What I really want to know is why the researchers would make a joke out of something like this. Watch the video for yourself and decide.
What the fuck? What the? Fuck! Shit! Fuck! Shit!
Others say CERN is messing with time and changing our past. This is actually not too far-fetched to believe if you take into consideration what theoretical physicists say about the speed of light. If an object were to somehow travel faster than it, the object would actually be going back in time. Is it possible CERN managed to break the light speed barrier? Wouldn't something going back in time change the past? Most physicists say traveling faster than the speed of light is impossible. However, in 2011, CERN detected an anomalous particle that seemed to be doing just that. The claim was supposedly debunked, and the scientist who announced the discovery was forced to resign. This caused a lot of controversy in the physics community and has been a topic of heated debate ever since. The subject seems to be a trigger which is like politics except for smart people. But even if it didn't happen on that occasion, Is it possible it happened some other times we weren't being told about? Conspiracy theorists claim the Mandela Effect is proof of time manipulation. However, skeptics say it's nothing more than the result of faulty memory. The Mandela Effect is a term used to describe a situation where many people remember a certain event occurring when it actually didn't. For example, many people believe Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s. However, they were shocked to find that he really died in 2013 and lived a long and happy life. And this is where we get the name of the phenomenon. The Mandela Effect is noticeable in many logos and cartoons. For example, the Fruit of the Loom logo has never had a cornucopia. Curious George has never had a tail. Mr. Monopoly never had a monocle. And Pikachu never had a stripe on his tail. There are many more examples. There is this video here, created by scientists at CERN, and seems to be mocking conspiracy theorists. Towards the end of the video, it shows one of the physicists wearing a sign around his neck. One says Bond 1, the other one Mandela. The first actor to play James Bond was Barry Nelson. Nelson Mandela, Mandela Effect. Some say CERN is not only changing the past, but shifting us into different timelines within the multiverse. Once again, this sounds crazy. However, CERN openly talks about working with D-Wave Systems, a quantum computing company that claims its machines work by collaborating with parallel universes. Here's a bit of a video from the founders giving a talk. I'll give you the bit that is relevant right here.
That may look a little strange to you who don't follow theoretical physics, but there is a very clear prediction that our most successful theory of nature makes, and that is that there are an enormous number, mind-bogglingly large number, of parallel realities, as real as this one, that have different consistent histories. So imagine a world where all of the laws of physics as we know them are obeyed, but different decisions were made along the way. Different decisions at the level of tiny microscopic particles, different decisions all the way up to what you chose to eat for lunch, and whether you chose to come to this session or not. Quantum mechanics makes a very specific prediction that all of those are as real as the thing that you remember. And this is bizarre, because we don't see those other things. But science has reached the point now where we can build machines that exploit those other worlds. And quantum computers are perhaps the most exciting of all of these that we have within, or almost within our grasp right now. So people from a physics background love this.
Is it possible our universe is becoming entangled with another? Are timelines overlapping? This video may be evidence of that.
I'm not sure what year this car is, but it's an old Ford, and probably in the 40s model. If you look at the front logo, you see the new logo from this new reality. But, weird thing, if you walk around to the back and look at the back logo on the bumper, look at that. That's the residual reality from the old Ford logo. Notice, no hooky, no pigtail. On the inside, the new one from the new reality. And on the front, also the new reality. But there is residual All you have to do is look for it. All you have to do is look hard for it.
This car appears to be stuck between two worlds. The world with the Ford logo Mandela affected people remember, and this world with the Ford logo that always existed according to official records. Is an oddly named brand of cold medicine even more evidence of entangled timelines? All my life I have never heard of 666 cold preparation, yet it's been around for over 100 years. What I find most odd is if you look the stuff up online, many stores offer it, but not one of them ever seems to have it in stock. 666 cold preparation is a whole rabbit hole in itself. Supposedly, a man named Dr. John Palmer created the medicine. He was the local physician and mortician in a small Florida town called Monticello. It's notorious for being the most haunted place in the state. Legend says that Dr. Palmer's sick practices are to blame. I've also seen a lot of memes lately joking about God creating new animals. Some conspiracy theorists jokingly call these man-animals. What in the hell is a sea pig or a scale worm? These things look like they literally come from another dimension. They look Lovecraftian. I could just be uneducated, but come on, look at these dudes. There is also a weird website dedicated to CERN that seems to be stuck in another time. The website shows music videos from Les Horribles Cernettes, an all-woman pop group made up of CERN employees. A picture of the band was the first image ever uploaded to the internet, at least in this timeline. What's strange though is the group formed in 1990. Les Horribles Cernettes is an obvious reference to the LHC, the machine at CERN that wasn't operational until 2008. They also made a song in 1993 called Surfing on the Web. Were people using that kind of slang in the early 90s?
Do you surf me on the web? My pages are for you. Call me on the web. I'll open my windows to you.
According to official history, CERN created the World Wide Web. Some say the real reason for it is to gather as much data about the world as possible. The data could be put into advanced computers to create simulations of the future. Once future events are predicted, scientists could act accordingly. Advanced simulations could also tell them what little changes in history would create drastic changes in the present. If CERN really is capable of time travel, they could theoretically send data to scientists in the past telling them how to shape the future. Perhaps this is why, right now, we only notice subtle differences. So is CERN improving its technology in the past from the future? This sounds confusing, but this is what is known as retro-causality. Instead of cause creating an effect, it's an effect creating a cause. This phenomenon is actually supported by quantum theory. According to CERN's official website, the first proton-to-proton collision happened in 1971. However, you can find contradicting articles and videos saying the first time it happened was 2010. Did the scientist in 2010 send some data to the scientist in 1971? CERN's website also says that a machine called the LEP existed many years before the LHC. However, if you search for images of the LEP, you get pictures of the LHC, which do look old, but as I've stated before, the LHC wasn't operational until 2008. This picture of the LEP is literally the LHC seen from another angle. Notice the 1997 copyright? The LHC was still being built in 1998. At present, there are 30,000 particle accelerators around the world. When did these things start showing up? I feel like I haven't heard about them until recently. Apparently they've been around since the 1930s. Are we experiencing what some call quantum infiltration? But why would CERN want to advance itself faster than time allows? And why do they want these machines everywhere? When certain particles collide with each other at extremely high speeds, they create antimatter. I think they are trying to bring as much antimatter into the world as they possibly can. Scientists at CERN believe that when the universe was created, it must have been made up of a perfectly even amount of normal matter and antimatter. When matter and antimatter meet, they annihilate each other. So this begs the question, why is there something instead of nothing? The official CERN website literally says some unknown entity must have intervened during the creation of the universe. Who would this entity be? What kind of entity would rather us have more normal matter than antimatter? Why is this a problem? This quote is from an actual CERN scientist. According to a supposed CERN insider, being around antimatter too long can cause one to have nightmares, become aggressive, or even go totally crazy. UC Berkeley was one of the first places to store the substance, and ironically, it was also the site of one of the most violent protests of our time. The violence broke out primarily between alt-right and alt-left activists. Many of the alt-right activists were members of the cult of Kek. The cult of Kek worships the ancient Egyptian god of chaos. Interestingly enough, Japan has its own particle collider named Kek. There is also a particle accelerator named PEP-2. Pepe is the name of the cult's mascot. Is the god of chaos manifesting himself through antimatter? Is this also a whole rabbit hole in itself? It's a thought worth throwing out there. Perhaps antimatter is what demonic entities are made of. Considering the satanic symbolism we've seen so far, I don't think it's too much of a stretch. Coincidentally, some Satanists believe they must balance the forces of good and evil to become whole. Sounds like CERN's vision of the universe. Like I said at the beginning of this, 2012 was the year CERN discovered the God particle, but since then they found nothing. Since then, the CERNites have disappeared, and weirdly enough, it's the earliest you can find any articles written about their legendary photograph. This is also something I've written about before, but I often wonder if 2012 was the year our original world ended and CERN pushed us into a new one. Perhaps Stephen Hawking was right when he told us the particle could destroy the universe. But the scientists at CERN do seem to be desperate to prove their mathematically perfect model of the universe. One of them even admits their experiments could dissolve what we think of as reality. It seems they must always push the boundaries. There are even plans to build a much bigger collider. Whatever this monster of a machine will be capable of, who the hell knows? The scientists say they yearn for new physics. What does that really mean? What would a world that no longer obeys the laws of nature look like? Perhaps the Mayans were correct when they said the world would end in 2012. We just didn't know they meant one of many. Perhaps the reality we know is dissolving as we speak. I have no clue. I just have a feeling that things are only going to get much weirder. And on that note, we come to the end of this week's episode. I'd like to thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoyed this, I hope you consider clicking the like button, subscribing, ringing that bell notification so you don't miss an episode, and even joining us over on Patreon for early access and all kinds of other goodies. That leaves me just to say a thank you very much, and to wish you good day, good night, wherever, whenever, whatever you are, and thank you very much.